welcome to Luigi's Gaming Lounge. I am Luigi 8 Mario, and I am joined today by Outtime Ecto1, aka
Andy, hello.
I am joined by Trip Hazard, aka
Barnaby, hello.
and I'm joined by Terrors, aka
Sam, hello.
Hello. So this is episode 24 today, guys. Little bit sort of different. We're not talking about any sort of gaming news or anything like that. I wanted to delve a bit deeper today, and something sort of come up, and it made me question things. So basically, I put it obviously to you guys to say that some people say that video games are a waste of time, and again, of course, we all know otherwise. That's something that I heard quite a lot in my childhood from different people, and I'm sure you guys at some point in your life have heard that, be said to you, either yourselves or other people. So yeah, I just wanted to discuss this and get your guys' thoughts. I mean, for me personally, I'll sort of quick start this and just say that for me, gaming has always been an escape, and also as well, in regards to it being a waste of time, anything that brings you enjoyment and makes you happy and makes you laugh is not a waste of time. So yeah, as I said, I think we can all probably relate to that. Trip Hazard, did you want to weigh in and we'll go from there?
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, no, I totally echo what you're saying there. Video games are an escape, and I think people who say that something is a waste of time, well, you've got to question exactly what they mean by a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Because you mean like not working, but there's more to life than just work. Even if it's like you sort of working on a project that's close to your heart, it's still work. You still need that balance, I think.
Yeah.
You need to be able to rest. You need to be able to work, of course, to earn a living. But you also got to have an outlet, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as well, a lot of people who say that video games are a waste of time are also they come from a long line of naysayers. Like when cinema was first introduced, it was seen as like the downfall of culture.
Oh, okay.
The same for rock and roll music.
Yeah,
that was seen as like a terrible thing, and these young people wasting their time on that. And I think even things like at one point books and chess were derided as a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
Even though nowadays chess is a highly regarded intellectual pursuit.
Yeah.
And as is any kind of literary pursuit as well. So I think in time, just because in particular video games is a very new medium. I mean, it's much newer than cinema even, which is probably the next closest contender.
Yeah, true.
So I think for a while it's going to have a lot of naysayers, but I think the younger generations, it's going to become more and more natural that video games will be an accepted part of the media, and they'll be able to join, because cinema is a lot more respected nowadays. Books have gained respect for a long time. Music has gained respect for a very long time, probably like the longest of all art forms. And I think there will be trashy video games that are just to occupy your fingers, but I think you get that kind of throwaway entertainment in any genre.
Oh, definitely.
And on the other end of the spectrum, you get video games that really make you think. In a different way. You can use what you've learnt in those video games, and you can actually apply it to your own real world situations. And it can, and last but no means least, as you're saying, it can just be a way to enjoy yourself. And if you're playing online, or if you're playing like couch co-op, you're socializing as well. So you're developing and extending your social skills. And even when you're playing on your own, you're using things like your imagination. When I was a kid, I used to be absolutely enthralled by video games. It's this whole like little world contained within a computer screen, and I'd spend like hours thinking about the possibilities that they provide you. And I could spend hours like replaying the same games over and over again, because I only had like about 6 when I was a kid, because I couldn't afford to buy my own games.
Yeah, nice.
So I play these same half dozen games all the time.
Yeah,
It's great. But I think you can't really demean the value of them because, like you said, if somebody gets value from it, then it's not worthless. It's not a waste of time.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, a memory I have when I was younger, I'm saying around sort of PlayStation 1 era, I used to take it to my grandparents when I stayed over there on the weekends and things. And if I was just watching television, I wouldn't hear a peep from them, it'd be fine. As soon as I got on the computer, if I was on there for an hour or so, my grandmother, more so than my grandfather, they're very old-fashioned Italian, well, were, bless them, old-fashioned Italian, and, my grandmother would come in and tell me that it's no good for my eyes, and this, that, the other, and I used to think to myself, what's the difference? In actual fact, I'm using my hands, I'm thinking,
manual dexterity, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Problem solving.
Yeah, so I think... again, it comes from, that particular incident like that, for example, comes from a generation that didn't really understand technology as well. So, yeah. But no, thank you for your share there.
Thank you.
Terrors, did you want to weigh in?
Yeah, so... Yeah, I mean, obviously you have to look at it from both ends of the spectrum, don't you, when it comes to, like, with it being, with computer games being a good or a bad thing. I think it depends on the type of person you are. Also, how much time you actually do spend playing the games, and whether that's as a child or as you get older. I mean, when I was a kid, I spent hours and hours and hours playing them. Just pretty much sat there all the time playing. But don't get me wrong, I did get to, because I think now we live in a world where, because everything's online and you can socialise more with your friends online, I think kids end up spending even more or too much time maybe playing them, and they don't really get out and about like they should, or they, I mean, that's just, well, I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, I would have my fair share of playing games, but I would also always be out and about, doing one thing or another, riding bikes, playing football, or, building a den or so, whatever, like that kind of stuff. So, I mean, yeah, I think there's certainly, there's pros and cons to playing games or having games or whatever, and I think that they can be quite educational. They can be good for you. They also, I think, as you get older as well, they can help you sort of escape some of the hardships that you face in life as you get older. When you're working all the time, or you've got a lot of stress or whatever, you can kind of shut off, can't you, from the world when you're playing? So I think as you get older, they can be beneficial.
That's definitely one of the sort of beauties of video games. I think if you, like you said about being feeling stressed or whatever, obviously I know you've got the likes of Call of Duty and things, but that generally, I know for me, can make me feel more stressed. But, you throw yourself into... I don't know. For example, you enjoy Zelda, don't you, Sam? So,
which is quite relaxing, really. Like, I mean,
yeah,
to a degree. I mean, there are obviously problem solving and stuff like that, but it's, I mean, there's such a wide genre of of games and so many now that we can choose from that. It doesn't have to be stressful. You can quite casually pick up the controller or whatever it is that you're playing on and just sit there, chill and play and switch off.
Or jump on GTA and just go around killing people when you've had a stressful day,
Yeah. But there is, I mean, there is like looking at the, I know, I fully agree with you. I think, that as well, that's a great, it's a great sort of thing for you to be able to do, or people to be able to do, is just switch off from life. But I do think that, there are certain things with games, like, especially if you've got kids or, younger people playing certain games, doing certain things. I mean, I've watched a few YouTube videos, I've caught my son watching YouTube before, and it's like some of the stuff on there is a bit like, whoa, I know it's kind of like over-exaggerated, modded or whatever on certain things, but then that does get you a bit like, you shouldn't really be watching that. Like, you get a bit conscientious about that, but I don't know. I think on the whole, there's nothing wrong with them. I think if they're just monitored and done in moderation for children,
Oh, sorry.
I think they're good. No, I think they're a good thing.
Yeah, I think you've brought up a good point there in regards to, like, obviously when we were younger, time spent at home, you know, we would play on computers and stuff, but then we also had, you know, time outside playing football, like you said, or whatever, on your skateboard, BMX, etc., etc. Whereas now, because obviously back then the online side of things wasn't how it is now, so it's a lot more tempting just to sit on the computer because you're still socializing in a way at the same time.
Whereas we didn't even have internet, like,
Yeah.
when we were playing games, like in the early 90s and stuff. Or to be fair, even in the 90s, full stop, for us in our house, we didn't get the internet till like the early 2000s. So
Yeah.
you know, there was none of this. You know, the way you can socialize.
You make yourself sound like Bane. You were born in darkness.
No. But you know what I mean? Like,
you're adopted it. I was born in it.
Yeah,
it is kind of amazing to think. Yeah, it's kind of amazing to think that when we were kids, there was no internet virtually.
Yeah.
And nowadays, internet is ubiquitous. We've gone from that in essentially like 2 and a bit decades.
It feels like it almost feels like, I know you could live without it, but it sort of feels like you couldn't because it is part of your everyday life.
I don't think you could these days, but like, I mean, it's just like, look what we're doing now. Like, you know, podcasts, all chatting, like that was just non-existent like 20 years
all being in a different
20 years ago or whatever.
20 years ago, we'd have to have our own like pirate radio station to get broadcast.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so no, I think I think there's a lot to be said about gaming in general, as you know, what it can do for people. And like I say, it depends on what type of person you are. It can affect everyone differently. When I got to like my teenage years, I was a very competitive player and I used to get very, very angry, which my poor mother probably didn't appreciate much. But you know, I suppose that's just part of being a teenager as well. But you know what I mean? It's it's I think mentally for like, I think they're good. I think overall they're good. Like I say, if it's done in moderation and it's controlled, then I think they're good.
The good outweighs the bad. I think that's the point, isn't it? Really.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, no, fair enough. No. Out of Time Ecto 1, Andy, what have you got to say on this?
I could get quite deep, but I'm going to hold back and be more reserved.
Okay.
Before I start, I am an advocate for video gaming. I am in the pro corner. I think, you know, the pros do outweigh the cons massively. However, Sam touched on it with his sort of final sentence or paragraph just then, notably the moderation and control. I think moderation, self-control, self-awareness are the key terms. If you're sort of approaching it from a mental health angle, you know, people in crisis, people who feel lost, people who need direction, support, gaming can provide all of that. Whether sort of solo gaming, it provides the distraction, it takes your mind off of the negative thoughts. If it's socializing with friends, it gives you that sort of peer network, that support network, without labeling it as such. So there's so many, I say medicinal, but therapeutic sort of benefits of gaming from a mental health point of view.
Yeah.
Obviously, the guys so far have touched on the social aspects. Again, brilliant. But again, it's been touched on. The key thing is too much of something can actually turn a positive into a negative. And the obvious examples are, you know, the physical exercise. We, you know, the society we live in, the westernized countries, you know, I dare say, I don't know facts and figures, but weight gains on the up, unhealthy eating's on the up, etc., because we are taking the easy option, the easy way out, the convenience. You know, all of the technology, it's all designed to make life easier, quicker, more efficient. So I think, again, with children involved, it's up to the parents to obviously manage sort of the usage. With adults, I think a bit of self-awareness. You guys have mentioned it is a good escape, and it is. But when you escape something, if there is something you're escaping from, all you're doing by escaping is putting a plaster over the issue. So if you just keep running and escaping, you're just going to get deeper and deeper and deeper into that hole.
You can get consumed almost, can't you, by what you're doing and what you're playing.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, there are a few exceptions, especially in modern times. But if you consume your life with video games, there's not really a lot of good going to come of it.
No, it can turn the most sociable of people into very unsociable people, to be
correct. Honest. And alongside that, you also then have the physical deterioration of health, the mental deterioration of health, the social skill deterioration. And it can quite easily happen. But then, that's aimed sort of more, I suppose, adult games in a way. It's easy to shut yourself away and like we mentioned, escape. But my main concern, to play devil's advocate, is we've touched on it in previous episodes, the likes of pay-to-play, microtransactions, this form of gambling effectively that's being pushed down the throats of all the young gamers of today's generation. Much like cinema back in the day, it is prime revenue for advertising, in the sense of you have got targeted marketing, bums on seats, looking at a massive screen. It is the same as gaming. These developers know full well that the sheer quantity of players they have on consumed on this one game, and they know whatever they want to shove down their throat, they're gonna swallow it whole. Whether it's a skin on a game, or whether it's a loot box, or whatever it is, they know they've got that they're fueling an addiction, an unhealthy addiction from an early age. An addiction of any descript is not a good thing. Addiction shouldn't occur. It should be manageable. It should be quantifiable and balanced, I suppose. Moderation again. And I think we are fueling, especially, parents who are switched on, like Sam mentioned it. He notices things that are being played on YouTube or whatnot. If you have got a more tech-savvy parent who's a bit switched on, a bit more aware of the world and the sort of media that's pumped out there, it's a different case. But I still think we're in a crossroads. I think there are some younger parents and more tech-savvy parents, but there's still half that are a bit more in the Stone Age. And I do worry for the children of that sort of style parenting, because they're going to be given the empowerment and the trust by the parents. The parents are doing it in all faith, but they don't understand what entirely the children are being exposed to. And if you combine that with the likes of then not playing outside, scoffing crisps and junk food while they game, and then add the gambling, the addiction. Not to even peer pressure, who's got the coolest skin? Have you got the battle pass? Have you got this? Have you got that? It's potentially it can add fuel to anxiety. When you next see your friend in school, well, have you got this? If they don't come from an affluent family, maybe they can't afford the battle pass. Maybe they're going to get ridiculed or made to feel bad. So you can look at it from lots of different angles. Like I say, I am an advocate for it. I am in the pro corner, but like probably most of us on the podcast, we are a lot more switched on in the machine as a big picture. I think if parents are disconnected from the full spectrum, I think issues can arise. And I think it's obvious. I think you do see children who lack social skills, who maybe have anxiety, who worry too much about peer pressure, who are so driven by the in-game purchases rather than the actual gameplay itself. And those mental traits, if you're, there's a certain, I forget which psychologist said it, but you can be a product of your environment. So if you're exposed to all of these scenarios and all of these expectations from a young age, you learn, and that's what you're being taught, that is normal, that is acceptable, that is how you should be. So if you're fueling these negative traits from an early age unknowingly or unassumingly, what can that then turn into later in life, this form of addiction, the like gambling and the peer pressure and all things like that? So I liken gaming to Facebook. Facebook is one of the most amazing creations for connecting the world, for connecting people. However, it is one of the worst creations ever as well, in the sense of disconnecting people and basically people writing their lives off and living through a screen. So again, it's all in moderation. It's all in, if you can manage it, if you can moderate it, if you can control it, and be self-aware if you're an adult, or be aware of the whole machine if you're a parent. I am, like I am a pro advocate in gaming. Like Barney was saying, it's again, skills, problem solving. You go the simplest of dexterity with your thumbs, with your fingers, and that. But then you can go into problem solving and skills, obviously social. So there are so many good things, but like with everything, go into it with open eyes and the edge of caution. Things have changed where you blow into a cartridge, stick a Mega Drive 16-bit cartridge in, and your kid's pretty safe.
It's definitely different compared to those times.
You never used to get addicted to Mega Drives or SNES. You used to get pissed off because you have to keep restarting when you go for dinner.
Yes, true. That is true.
I just left it running.
Oh, you rebellion!
Yep,
absolute rebel, you. But no, you brought up some good points. I mean, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Obviously, my son G, don't get me wrong. I grew up obviously absolutely loving games, and again, I grew up in that time of also going out playing football, riding my bike, my skateboard, whatever. And I find myself playing for him. It's at the point where I don't know if it's the right way to say it, but he sort of almost struggles to enjoy other things, and that's sort of the point where I've thought to myself, right, he's got to sort of step back a little bit from this, because he's obviously over consuming what he's doing, and don't get me wrong, I was absolutely happy to know that he loves video games and whatnot, and shares my passion, but at the same time, I don't want it to become something that, as you said, is going to do him harm. So I find myself more actively sort of telling him to come off the computer and do something with me, like something else, whether it's, doing some drawing or playing like a board game or something.
Both you can come to judo.
Yeah, do you know, I've been trying to get him to do another activity, because he was going to martial arts, but both of the children were, but obviously COVID kicked in, and they don't want to go back. But it's one of those. It is hard. It's very difficult, because again, it's a passion that I share, but we grew up at different times, so yeah, it is very difficult. So that side of things, I totally understand and relate, because that is where I suppose the dark side of video games comes in. But again, I think it's all about balance. As you said, over consuming anything, whether it's alcohol, food, anything like that, is bad for you. But no, moving on from that bit though, I mean, overall, for me personally, I think I've mentioned on here before, but obviously I've got a very extensive mental health history, and for me, gaming has almost always been a good thing. I could be in the worst of mood ever, jump into a game on talking with people, and it's just, I don't know, it does something. It's sort of like, I feel like it's almost like my drug, it makes me feel good. But
is it the gaming or is it the social aspect?
It's probably a bit of both, because obviously socially I've always felt very, very awkward, like in person. I've always been quite shy, and I think being able to socialise online it almost makes you feel a little bit normal, if that makes sense, for a while. Like if you're not feeling yourself in general, and you feel out of sorts, and you don't feel like you can face going somewhere, but you jump online and you're talking to some friends or something like that, I suppose it makes you feel a bit more normal for that time that you're doing it.
I agree. I think I agree with that. Yeah, I never really thought about it that way before, but thinking about it, that's probably similar to how I feel. It does, in a kind of strange way, does make you feel more normal, like it's more manageable when you go online and do something social in a way that you wouldn't do if you're feeling out of sorts and trying to be social in person.
Yeah. I mean, for example, this evening.
Are you just trying to tell us you like gaming in your underwear and you can't do that when around your house?
Do you want to know something? Do you actually want to know
You're
something?
You're in your underwear now, aren't you?
I'm in my boxers and a vest, just for everybody to know. But no, Barney, as you said, I mean, this evening, shortly before the podcast, me and Maddie, my wife, obviously, we went shopping together. And may sound silly to some people, and some people will understand, but I, got myself in quite a kerfuffle because when I'm sort of in a shop or something like that, don't know why, it seems to be a trigger for me, and I just get really sort of flustered and feel lightheaded and all over the place. And I genuinely felt like I wasn't going to be able to jump on and do this podcast this evening, but I sort of pushed myself, so I thought, no, come on, you can do it. And sort of I'm sat here and I'm talking to you guys, and I sort of can feel, I've throughout the podcast I felt my body sort of relax. And it's because obviously I'm talking to you guys, we're having a discussion about something that I really, is a passion of mine, which is gaming. And obviously, I have, again, extensive history of mental health. So yeah, I mean, that to me is proof alone that video games are something to treasure myself. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you guys.
Oh, thanks for sharing.
No worries. Terrence, you're a bit quiet over there. I haven't heard you speak for a little while.
He's getting into his underwear.
I think.
No.
He's here.
No, I am here. I was just letting Andy obviously have his bit, and then you guys were continuing on. So just, I felt like I'd made an input at the beginning, so I just thought I'd let you guys, have your say.
Oh,
yeah,
very gracious.
He's done his bit. He ain't here to work. He's here for a jolly.
Oh no, tell me about it. No, but yeah, I don't think there's. To be honest with you, we've covered most things in regards to sort of mental health and video games, good and bad. Obviously, I do. I just want to put it out there and just say that anybody that is really struggling, please do go and seek help. And there is plenty of help out there for you. But yeah, also
that's where I can pitch my email.
Yeah, go for it.
Joking.
Well, drum up some business.
Make business with pleasure.
Okay, fair enough. Well, no. So if you guys have any guys listening, got any questions, would like to ask us anything at all, contact us at luigisgaminglounge@gmail.com. That's luigisgaminglounge@gmail.com. As I said, any questions or just to say hello to us guys. But yeah, that's episode 24. I feel we've had a very good conversation, and again, I'll just reiterate, please do seek help if you feel you need it. But yeah, thank you guys. Out of time, Ecto One, Terrors, Trip Hazard. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And
always a pleasure, never a chore.
Of course. See you guys on the next episode.
Always a chore, never a pleasure.
Trust you.
There's always one.
Always one. See you on the next episode, guys.
See you later.
See you later.
See you later.
See you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.